Hey y'all, it's me, Dirty Lola, and I am here tonight at Please, an educated sex shop in Brooklyn, New York. And we are here for a chat called The Sexual Pivot. Joining me tonight at the round table are two amazing sex educators, and I will let them introduce themselves. Starting to my left.
Hi, y'all. My name is Valentine. I am a sex educator born and raised in New York. I like to teach about BDSM in English and in Spanish, and I love to teach people how to have better sex.
Where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me online at vibing_with_V, or you can also find me at my other day job at Spectrum Boutique. So, yeah.
And I'm Carly. If you go on the internet, most of my social handles are Makeup and Sin. I also blog at dildoordildon't.com, so I will review toys and do all kinds of stuff like that. But I've been in the industry about 15 years, so I've done anything from like sell toys to help design toys to help folks sell toys as well. I do a lot of different things in the industry. I do a lot of education, and that's me in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
And me, Dirty Lola, I'm a sex educator based in Brooklyn, and I do a lot of sex edutainment. I shows. I'm on Netflix and HBO currently on The Principles of Pleasure and on The Sex Diaries, and I teach workshops to young adults and adults, and I can be seen, I don't know, everywhere, because I'm always popping up somewhere. And if you want to know more about Please, you can find them at PleaseNYC everywhere on your social medias. If you're watching us live, you can do like split screen and look us up while to stalk us a little bit while while you watch us. All right, so to get in tonight's chat, we have a prompt that we're going to start with. And for those, so you're in the know, what are these books here? So besides talking about the sexual pivot, we are talking about the resources that can help you while you're in the sexual pivot. So we're going to be discussing these three books. It's going to be broken up into three chats. So if you can't stay all night tonight watching us in this marathon series of talking about sex, come back. The episodes will be released every Sunday for the next 3 Sundays. Yeah, I got it right. And tonight we're going to start off by asking you, Carly. Are you ready?
I hope so.
All right.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what is the sexual pivot, in your opinion? And what's the difference between the sexual pivot and a sexual awakening?
A sexual pivot will come more when you're dealing with a change in your life. Maybe that's menopause, maybe that's a different kind of change in hormones, whether that's if you're taking them for a gender transition or age transition. It could be a change in your disability status. It could be a medical issue that you're dealing with. It could be a change in your medications. But just any sort of change you're dealing with in your body. It could be even a sexual trauma. It could be an emotional trauma. But basically anything that you're going to have to deal with physically, mentally, emotionally, that's going to affect you sexually. And a sexual awakening is when you're having a grand old time or maybe not having a grand old time, but then you're like, pow, bam, wow, look at this amazing thing, and now I'm going to go explore it. Right? Yeah.
That was very Bjork of you.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to get into our first book, which is Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. If you, just a little brief explanation of it, it's a science-backed exploration of female sexuality and how the brain influences desire. So starting with, let's just discuss let's get the main thing out of the way. What are your feelings about the book? What did you like about it? And what did you feel something was lacking, and what was lacking?
I think the only thing that it's really lacking is that it's really focused on like heterosexual cis women. So if you are not a heterosexual cis woman, then you're kind of left out of that conversation. So if you're gender expansive in any way, or going through menopause, or dealing with any of those things that I was talking about, like, it doesn't really address those issues. So like, it's really more of like, if you are a cisgender heterosexual woman, like, here are some ways to discuss your sexuality and some things you might be dealing with. It is a great jumping off point, but there are more things to be said. But, you know, books can't cover everything.
Right.
So, you know, it's a great place to start, and it's a great place to like start thinking about the things you're going through, but it's not end all and be all.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that in terms of the things where the book may have been missing the mark, or just its pieces that were missing from the conversation. Yeah. I did appreciate how much the book focuses on the ways in which like the outside world inform people's understanding of their own sexuality, including with like those first seeds of shame that we don't know are even planted until we start having these kind of sexual pivots.
Yeah.
I love the book just because as a nerd and the way it talks about sex, the way it breaks it down, and to all these pieces that kind of help you understand a little bit more what you might be going through emotionally and physically. I like that, like, we talk about the clitoris, and there's a whole little map. There's some workbook sections. A bitch loves a worksheet.
Yeah.
So I like those things. A thing I didn't like about it, well, I won't say didn't like. I don't feel like it's for everyone. There's a lot of people who it can be a little over, because it can get a little academic at times. So where there are some very accessible pieces, sometimes I feel like it gets into minutia, where as a sex educator, like, I get it. We talk about these terms all the time. There was a lot of times where I was like, somebody's going to have a dictionary or be Googling things and highlighting. That was the part. And I think going back to what you said about it being really more aimed at cis women, I think the problem with that is we also know there's a difference in how our desire manifests and our sexual satisfaction manifests for women who love women and are in relationships with women or having sex with women than women who are in relationships with men.
Yeah.
Like, the
Even
orgasm
the
chart
orgasm
is different.
gap. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
We talk about that on the principles of pleasure, literally, that there's a difference in how those things happen. So I wish it examined that more. They do talk about intersex bodies, but I wish it did kind of reach out a little further, because it's going to be, like, people with vulvas are going through things, but it's going to be different for people who are going through different things in life, for trans folks going through things in life. So, yeah, I wish those places moved into more. I haven't read the follow-up book.
I did.
Is there more in the follow-up book, which is come together? That's more of a couples. Is that a couple? Yeah.
It's still very cis and hetero focused. Yeah. But it's really good actually for the sexual pivot, because it really talks a lot about like figuring out what you need in your own sexual garden, and like really tending to your garden, and like really doing the work to figure out the things that you need to, like, you know, make your desire grow, and like all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like what questions to ask yourself. So it's not just like figure out what you need. It like gives you the tools to like ask yourself the questions and like do the work a little bit. It's not a replacement for a therapist, but it's a good like jumping off point to like get your brain working to figure out those questions to like start doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big part of sexual pivot is taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And people hate when you say that.
Self-reflective.
Yeah. Well, knowing what you're going through, which is why having resources is great, because it's hard to know what you're going through if you don't even understand baseline what's happening with your body. What is your body?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people have never even looked at their own vulvas and examined. There are people out there that think you pee and have a period and out of the same hole. Still, it's like, no, y'all. But you need baseline knowledge. So I think when you have that, it makes it easier for you to have those aha moments or notice changes, and also realize like, oh, this is going to happen. When we have things laid out for us, you're like, okay, here's what I can expect, versus like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Why is it like this? Why? I don't understand. But I think a lot of people, and I will say a lot of women, people who are raised as women, we are also raised to think somehow, magically, men are supposed to just know what to do. And I'm just going to tell you all now, why would they know what to do when you don't know what to do?
Yeah.
If you don't know how you orgasm, why would they know how to orgasm? They're not even getting, we get some knowledge about our bodies when they talk to us about our periods and how to have babies. They don't get any of that from our point of view. So they're not getting any of that information whatsoever. Why would they magically know how? And if you can't talk about your body, if you can't talk about what you need, how are they supposed to know? And, you know, and hello, you're not off the hook, men. We're not all the same.
Yeah.
It's not a 3D printed vagina. We all have different needs, different ways we want to be touched, different things. And just because you've had experience with certain people, also I'd like you to realize people have lied to you a lot. You're getting lied to a lot. And I'm not saying that in like that you're bad at sex, but a lot of us are conditioned to not speak up for ourselves, not speak up for what we're looking for, what we want, what we need. And we just kind of like, don't want to rock the boat or want to make sure you're happy and comfortable and want to come back. And so we're not letting you know.
Yeah, and it's also the sexual pivot. Like your needs change over time or week to week or day to day. Like sometimes you'll need more lube, sometimes you'll need a stronger vibrator, sometimes you'll need a positioning pillow and more support. Like some, you know, you got to figure out your needs along the way too and be, you know, empowered to communicate them to your partner.
Yeah, and something that came up in the book is this idea of like there are some things that excite us and some things that detract us from wanting to engage sexually. And that is something that's constantly changing. So it might be that this week I'm really turned on by this specific thing, but contextually, whether it's because of what's going on in my life or what's going on in my body or just like what's shifting for me desire-wise, those things may like kind of give me the ick to like an extreme when it was like something that turned me on before. So it's just kind of this idea of like the pivot isn't something that just happens once, right? It's something that is ongoing as our relationships to our body and to sex and sexuality change. And it's something that can be very conditional, I think.
And I don't remember if it was Come As You Are or Come Together, but she talks a lot about how it's not a straight journey. It's not going to be like broken, fixing, fixed. It's you know, ups and downs and backs and forths. Like it's never going to be a straight line. So you have to kind of mentally account for that. And, you know, you'll have good days and bad days. And, you know, you just have to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are because we're all close-ish. I think am I the oldest?
By, like,
I'm the elder. I'm the elder of the table. Are we? Are you 40?
I'll be 43 in a couple weeks.
Okay, so I'm gonna be 45 this summer.
Oh, okay. You win.
Skincare. Also black. You can't do this. I'm sorry. I think we are. This phrase is kind of this generation because before us, sadly, women just kind of gave up.
Yeah.
They just stopped having sex. Like I talked to so many, I talked to everybody's mom. Your mom is in my DMs asking me questions. She's asking me about the swingers club. She's asking me about lube. Goodness. But a lot of women, I mean, and especially before our parents, they definitely just kind of stopped. People just stopped having sex.
Yeah.
And just was like, that's not for me anymore.
Yeah. And people think that like older folks just stop having sex, and like they are very surprised when they learn that like STIs are rampant in senior citizen homes. Like they're like, I can't get pregnant, I don't need a condom, but that's not the only reason why you need a condom.
Grandma, you can still get syphilis.
Exactly. Like they are horny, they don't have anything else to do, and they are still banging each other as they should be. Yeah.
Make t-shirts that say retired and horny.
Exactly. I'm sure they exist.
We need those. Yeah, but that's the thing is like if people are either giving up or they're kind of rediscovering.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we go through mini puberties through our life. We keep like burst. We all talk about like when I hit my 30s, they're like, oh, your sexual prime. That was a whole new world when I hit my 30s. It was like, what? What's going on? Okay. And now my 40s, it's like, I'm still like, what's going on here? So sometimes here, sometimes it changes who wants what. now we're never in congruency. It's just always weird. But it's so different for us, and we're figuring things out. And I think there's also, we're of a generation who we talk about accessibility. We talk about not just for disabled folks, but we're all going to become disabled at some point. We're aging. Age leads to disability. And so knowing, like,
and all of us probably have long COVID.
listen, long COVID, bad joints, bad backs. It sounds like Rice Krispies when I stand up. Like, there's all the things. So learning, like, what do we need to do? And also making sure stuff is available. Like, I think all of us can say we've been really a part of nagging brands to, hey, think about other people when you're making your products. Like, this is a great positioning pillow. Does it have a pocket for a vibrator? Does it have handles to hold on to? Are there straps? Are there things? Is this made for someone with a bigger body? Is this, like, all these things matter because you're going to get eventual customers. Like, trying to talk people into, this might not be the demographic, but those people are going to age and they're going to need different things. And so making sure they're available for when we need them.
Yeah, and I think that, like, something that I've been thinking a lot just listening to the two of you talk is that bodies aren't static, right? So, like, what we had in terms of, like, sexual expectations when many of us became sexual or started being sexually active, like, our bodies are so different. When I was a teenager, my body functioned in a completely different way than it does now in my 40s. And also, like, through transition and hormone therapy and everything, like, everything just works differently. And I think part of the thing that you were talking about, Carly, with people just assuming that, like, older folks don't have sex, that's, like, desexualizing people whose bodies are not performing the way they did when they were younger, when their disability status was different. This happens across the board, where people desexualize disabled folks all the time, or people desexualize or hypersexualize trans folks. Like, there's so many different ways in which these expectations for performance and performing in a particular way are stagnant, even though our bodies aren't. And I think that's also a big part of that pivot.
And I don't know about y'all, but I know sometimes when we were presented with this idea, I was like, that's what's happening. That's because you kind of get caught in the middle one day where you realize, like, oh, I can't do that anymore. Or I need certain things, or this thing this lube I loved doesn't work the same for me anymore. Or just there's all this stuff that you suddenly realize is happening. Also, that's what I'm perimenopause she's here in many different ways, and, like, one day I'm just like, oh, it's nobody else is hot. It's just me. And we laugh, but then you put that in when, like, you're on a date or you bring somebody back to your apartment, and now I'm like, I gotta put my little fan up. I hope you don't mind a little wind blowing. We're gonna have some Beyonce action while we're having sex, because if I'm overheating, it's gonna be so uncomfortable. And it changes everything. It changes all the stuff. And maybe because of what I do, and, like, we are running in circles where people are always talking about this stuff, and we've had wonderful books come out, like What Fresh Hell Is This? And I was kind of slightly prepared for it, but I can't imagine people who don't do what we do and have the friends we have and run in these kinds of circles. Like, you're just one day in your house, like, oh, help.
And it's like, when you are going through significant changes like that, there's a lot of things that you can talk to your doctor about comfortably, that the doctor might be able to, like, support with. But talking to a doctor frankly and transparently about your sex life and challenges that you might be having with sexuality is so hard. And part of it is, like, the things that we internalize, that same shame that I was talking about earlier about how we're performing sexually. That's part of it. But the other part of it is that a lot of medical professionals aren't trained to talk about sex, or it's not their lane or something. And so then it becomes important to have resources like these wonderful books, like educators like ourselves, your shops like Please that are the places where you can actually go and talk to people more frankly, because it's like some of that judgment is lifted and some of that like kind of power dynamic of talking to someone who's in a position of authority like the doctor, that is also removed. And I think that that's like such an important thing, is like, how are we not only teaching ourselves how to talk about sex, but how are we like societally lifting those taboos? And some of us are really lucky to have providers that we can talk to about things like that, but it's not an across the board thing. So like, I know a lot of folks who are either on T or who have had hysterectomies whose bodies are very, very different, but broaching that conversation with your doctor, who really is just checking your hormone levels, can get really tricky, right? So then that's, I think, for me, one of the reasons why it's so important to have like trans educators, queer educators, educators who are going beyond talking about the experiences of cis heterosexual people.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why I like to overshare on the internet, because I know that there's things that I've said that have been like light bulb moments for other people, because they're like, I'm experiencing this and I didn't realize that that could be the cause of it. Like, now let me go talk to my doctor with this language that you've given me.
Yeah.
So like, I like to overshare on the internet. It doesn't bother me. Sometimes you get hate for it, and it's like, that's fine. You can keep scrolling and not listen to me talk about my butthole, and that's fine. Not everyone has to listen, but if it's going to help one person not experience the same thing that I went through, because now they have more empowered language, more educated language, more like language around it in general, to be able to talk to their doctor and maybe not get dismissed like I had been, then I'm going to keep talking about my butthole on the internet.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah. It's also just a lot of what I've learned is people feel very seen.
Yeah.
Like, they might know they're going through it, but then they're like, oh, you're going through. I get a lot of that. Like, oh, you made me feel so much better to hear you're going through this, or you're experiencing this. I'm also will tell everybody my business for the same reason, because I've learned so much about myself. The perimenopause has really come from people oversharing on the internet, my friends talking about it in a way that I know our earlier generations have never talked to us about. The change of life, what are we going to go through? But it's so important to have this, and I think it's good to know that it has to be a multi-tiered response to the pivot. It's not just going to be your doctor. And like you said, it's gauge, can you have that conversation? Some doctors will, some doctors don't. Doctors, I'm going to give space and grace to the fact that doctors don't get sex education. They get in their whole career of learning, I think they get like 10 hours. If that. And so they're not even as informed as we are. I've taught my doctor things. I've taught my doctor. We've talked about relationship dynamics and non-monogamy and also body things. And they're like, oh my God, you want a book? I'll bring you a book.
I was going into surgery, and my surgeon was asking me questions about my butthole. And I was like, this is maybe not the time.
Like, I want to feel more confident about
your ability to cut my hemorrhoids off my butt.
Get it together, sir. But then finding a place you can trust, like your local sex shop, if it exists near you, and I know it doesn't, but a lot of these places are online. You can email. I get emails from people all the time. If there is somebody, don't be gross about it. Don't be, don't take advantage. But all of us have emails that are open if you have questions. I give resources. People are in my DMs. I can't dedicate like 1 million hours for free to things, but I always try to have like readily given resources or products that we can recommend. You have to kind of find those spaces, and then find like your community, whether that be a digital community. If you're Discord, I'm old and I don't like Discord, but just because I'm old, I don't understand it. I'm like, what is this? I have one and I don't, whatever. But getting into it, finding those spaces where people are talking about things. There's Facebook groups. I'm in a Facebook Reddit.
I was gonna say.
Anywhere people are like, I'm also going through this. So you can compare notes, because having other people, if you're like, has anybody else experienced this?
Someone on Reddit has.
Someone on Reddit has, or they know a doctor.
And they want to talk about it.
Or they have a doctor, they know somebody. So we're winding down in time. Before, I want us to rewind a little bit. And I just wanted to, I meant to mention this little bit, but one of my favorite parts of Come As You Are is the visualization of desire as an accelerator, hitting the accelerator or hitting the brakes. And I feel that so hard lately in this age group of I am in. No, it's fine. I don't mind getting old. But I've noticed like new people light me up in a different way just because it's new. And then once things kind of settle in, my desire morphs into a different type of thing. I'm less inclined now for hookups. Like in my mind, hookups are fun, right? Not even in my vagina's mind. She's like, let's do it, girl. Remember those times? And then my brain is like, but then we have to make plans and we gotta shave our legs and we gotta have to clean the room. And then it just becomes like less fun than I want to do. And I think also where my pivot is happening big time is in my brain because it's like who I am as a slut. And am I still slutty? If I'm not slutting as hard as...
I ask myself that all the time.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
like, I'm a slut in like my identity.
Yeah,
But, like,
yeah.
the practice has waned.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
not gone, but it's like, I think that the fantasy is super hot.
Yes.
And like when it does happen, it's also fun. It's like less glamorous to do all the things. I feel like it's always less glamorous for me than the fantasy, but it's like also just the kinds of interactions and the kinds of touch that my body responds to are completely different. So for me, part of the pivot, like the biggest part for me, is understanding what my body likes at 43, and then exploring it with myself before I can even explore it with anyone else.
Yeah. What my brain likes, what she's looking for, which is I'm like, I want fucking and cuddles. I'm like, cuddling's hot. But it is.
Yeah.
Cuddling will get me going. Like, let's cuddle and be nice to me and pet my hair, give me a massage.
Yeah.
Be nice to me is a big one.
Yeah.
Listen, because these fools out here are not always nice.
No.
Not at all. So there's a lot that has changed, but it's like, oh, I'm still me.
Yeah.
I've been having that identity crisis of like, am I still me? And I'm like, you're still a licensed slut. You just don't practice as much. You're pickier. You're like, what happened? I've gone into private practice. The office isn't just open for walk-ins anymore. But then when I am open for walk-ins, it's always dudes who won't take their sunglasses off while we have sex. And then I'm like, why did I do it? It's a great story, but I'm like, why are we here? When you're getting fucked and you're like, I'm amused, but also not amused. And what choices did we make? And it's like, I'm going to talk about this on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have the two thoughts of like, how did I end up here? And this is gonna make a good story.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no.
It's like that TikTok. Hi, I'm Lola, and if you're wondering how I got into this mess, so am I.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. Yeah. Well, y'all, this was such a lovely chat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So where again can folks find you on the internets?
I'm at vibing_with_V on social media.
Yeah. And I'm at Makeup and Sin and www.dildoordildon't.com.
And I am at Dirty Lola, anywhere social media is happening. And I am, www.dirtylola.co, not com, without the M, just the O. And you can find Please at PleaseNYC on Instagram. Thanks, y'all.